So going back to what we were just talking about, Kurt, you know, it's kind of common, I think, for the conservatives, the neocons of the day, to be pro-war.
Look, they can all sit down on The View together now.
Yeah. This, of course, is something I expected. That's Nikki Haley over there.
Who's the other one?
Some type of Tudor and Dixon podcast.
Tudor Dixon.
I don't know. It's one of those conservative podcasts.
Whoa.
I haven't seen it.
Look at
Whatnot.
those cheekbones. That's a fancy name. Tudor Dixon.
So obviously now I think we have this whole kind of lefty movement that, and the name of this segment is The Lefties That Disappoint Us. Now, this over here is a normal thing. You would expect this from that neoconservative right-wing media that goes all the way back to getting the Iraq war wrong, to the same war hawks that are still there, to the Sean Hannitys, to all these people that still want war. Listen to her, Kurt, the interviewer, which she says, and she talks about all these things that are just conjecture,
Okay, let's see.
which are not proven, and she throws them out there like they're proven already.
Let me see it.
You ready? All right, here we go. Check it out.
You talked about the Iran nuclear deal. You've been called the Iran whisperer. You played a prominent role in the decision to repeal that nuclear.
Wait, come on. The Iran whisperer.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
She is Apex. She's an APAC darling, so.
She's been called Pastor Prime, and I don't think it's fair.
No.
No one has ever called her the Iran whisperer.
Yeah.
Nor have they called anyone that.
Well, this one has. Wait, the hits keep coming. Check it out. Ready?
Decision to repeal that nuclear deal. But Americans can be naive as to the dangers of other countries. Iran will hang their own people in the streets if they disagree with the regime. China has been accused of genocide of the Uyghurs, also holding laborers as slaves, and also many other human rights offenses. North Korea is a starving country run by a dictator consumed by his own quest to become a nuclear power. And let's go to Russia for a second, because Vladimir Putin doesn't even prosecute his political opponents. He just kills them. We all remember Alexei Navalny, who was poisoned. We all remember Prigozhin.
Is there a question coming up?
There is a question coming up. But she's setting the table, Kurt. She's the warmonger setting. All those things she talked about are a lie, by the way.
So what happened is,
yes,
I don't know who the Tudor Dixon podcast is, but Nikki Haley's people gave her the thing to ask, and she's reading it like it's copy.
Mm-hmm.
Like when Jimmy does the air purifier, you know, if you do ads.
Yeah.
That's what this is. She's just reading. So this is an infomercial. That's what this is.
In a way. Yeah, this is not real journalism. But the way they lay this all out,
they just don't have to tell you.
But the way they lay everything out, that it's like, that's not true. Like, you don't even know who Navalny is. Are you that naive?
Her campaign, whoever, the same type of dude that works for Cornel West, handed this Tudor Dixon, who you've never heard of, or no one has ever heard of. This, I mean, it's like late night on late night TV. You'd see the juicer ad come on, and like they're having a talk show about a juicer. Like it's a long-running talk show.
Yeah,
that's what this is.
Yes,
they just don't have to say it to you anymore.
Yeah, and it gets better. Even when she goes, oh, dude, even the Uyghurs they've been accused of the Uyghurs. It's dude, like accused, but it's been debunked
Craig,
every single step of the way.
Wait. I was just about that stuck out to me too.
Yes, because
I thought they definitely were doing that. What do you mean they've been accused? That's a weird thing to say about a crime we know they're doing. Why would you say it like that? Some weird legalese?
Because they really haven't. It's not something they've been doing. There's these it's not a rehabilitation camp. It's a camp to acclimate Uyghurs into Chinese society.
Okay, just for the record, I don't believe for 2 seconds. In fact, you can get. I got it all. Oh, I wish I remember where I just was watching it. People translate. The Chinese government, when I went there, people were like, oh, yeah, they're terrorists. Nobody was like, oh, it sounded like how we talk about Guantanamo.
Yeah.
You know how we're kind of abusive at Guantanamo?
A little.
Yeah. I don't think that they're not very, very abusive, and it's crazy because on their own websites about it, the way they talk about it sounds like some stuff we would do to the natives, back in the 50s.
Yeah,
100 years ago.
You're talking about the Uyghurs.
They don't even act like it's wrong. So I know we've imprisoned Uyghurs too, but I don't believe for 2 seconds that they're just. I don't believe any of that. However, look at Guantanamo. If you're bothered by it, look at Guantanamo.
Yeah,
like, our country would do that.
Okay, let me just set the record straight. It's not that we've imprisoned Uyghurs. We funded Uyghurs back in the days.
Guantanamo, we had those Uyghurs for a while.
Yeah, but the Uyghurs were back in the days. The Uyghurs were the gun runners into Afghanistan to give the Mujahideen the Stinger missiles. So they're the radical Chinese Muslim group.
I thought China also was arming them to go against India like how we did in
That's
Rainbow
an
Three.
accusation. That's an
I bet
accusation.
it's true.
Yeah.
If they're going to compete with us in every, you said on another show, if we have some weapon, they got to make it.
Yes, yeah.
So all these countries are all going to, we're the big dog of the world. So however we're bad, they're going to have to compete.
Absolutely. But I mean, once again, we have 800 bases. They got 2. And it's really, first of all, nothing's really proven with the Uyghurs. It's very unstable. And I don't want to make this about the Uyghur section.
You go off their own words on their website. And about it. And it's.
But there's a bunch of Uyghur separatists and there's a bunch of Uyghurs that want to acclimate into Chinese society.
Yeah, there's real terrorists too. It's just,
they want jobs.
It turns out
dude, you can go to
fund
Xinjiang. I see pictures of Xinjiang all the time. Uyghurs hanging out, having a good time. That's where the Uyghurs mostly are. West China. Cynthia McKinney knows about the Uyghurs.
I wouldn't go off any pictures. All right. There's no way you can have a
We're getting a little bit sidetracked, but let's get back into this really quickly because I want you to hear Nikki Haley answer this question.
A few weeks ago, his plane fell from the sky. What a coincidence.
Saying it was Putin
what
who did
happens
it.
if these countries that are being called the new axis of evil align, and how does your administration address this?
That are being called...
Did you see the axis of evil?
No, she said the new.
The new, yeah, but that was by Pompeo, I think, who said it, or Bolton.
Oh, I didn't believe anyone actually said it. I thought it was on her copy.
Well, yeah, she took it off. It was by Bolton.
So you know the language has been accused of.
Yes,
is being called. Yeah. Some say
what a coincidence. It's definitely Putin.
Oh no, yeah. I wonder how we would handle that if one of our mercenary groups invaded us. If the guy wouldn't die on a plane, what are you talking about?
I don't think Putin did it yet. I'm not sold on that.
Who knows who did it?
Who knows who did it? Because he had other enemies and there's other reasons why. But let's take a listen to what the darling Nikki Haley says. And once again, this is expected from the conservatives and the neocon. We saw her on the stage.
But you expected better of Tudor Dixon?
No, I didn't know she was.
They are already aligning. So you can see the unification of China and Russia. I mean, it's why we'll always say a win for Russia is a win for China, but you can see the unification of Russia and China. They named Iran as their junior partner, and now you see Russia really getting in close with North Korea, and they're all aligned for one reason. They all hate America.
It's got nothing to do with America messing with their shit. It's got nothing to do with American control, American hegemony. It's got nothing to do with the empire. It's all them because they hate America. Well, my question to you is, why do you hate America?
They're just disgruntled. Well, the thing is funny is everybody...
They hate us for our freedom, Kurt. You're wrong.
Everybody was saying right in the beginning that you're going to push Russia into the arms of China if you do this.
Absolutely.
And so now I'm like, okay, because I don't know what Nikki Haley's deal... You know, it's not even worth it trying to figure out what level of they're aware of what they're doing. But like, was that the goal the whole time? Was push them in the arms of China? Like, let's just get this thing over with. And
well, that's if you listen to people like the Union of the Unwanted People with Sam Tripoli's crew and Charlie Robinson, who said,
listen to them.
Well, you should.
I've been on their show to debunk
I know.
them.
Well, we do the Monday show while they're doing the show, but
they always talk thoroughly.
They always talk. Charlie Robinson talks about it all the time. And so does Midnight Mike.
No, they did some good work on the connections. They have a whole...
They're awesome.
Yeah.
They're amazing. But they say this is the controlled demolition of the United States empire. So if you believe that this is the controlled demolition of the United States empire...
By who? Us?
By the elites, by the predator class, because they want to move elsewhere. They want to move to Beijing. They want to go that way.
Well, it does feel like we're one of these third world countries that we did this to, but we did it here to ourselves. Yeah.
Because I don't believe they're that stupid that this is done on purpose. You know, and a lot of people, what are they going to leave us here to kill each other to have a civil war? Who knows?
Well,
but a lot of people talk about that all the time.
Saying we can bypass your constitution and you can live by Google standards. Clearly, all these companies are like, they want to impose their company culture.
Yes.
And you're going to have to be like a citizen of them to do business with them.
Because it's a global fascist cabal. There's no such thing as nation states.
Well, I wouldn't use any of those words even though they're accurate because now all the words are poison. I would just like, it really is like a complete corporate takeover and they're going to divide you in your little fiefdoms.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then pay off all the leaders so that they're not going to do nothing.
So we got to get off grid, grow our own food.
It's not going to happen.
We can do it. We grow we grow our own vegetables and our own weed.
Misha,
we have our own comedy shows at night.
Maybe Misha could.
Dude, I saw a little community like that in Maui. You can do it. We can do it. But listen.
Maui, anyone could. You could just show up with a didgeridoo.
Okay.
Steve Boykin had said that, and he's still right to this day. Show up on the beach with a didgeridoo. You can run.
Steve Poikinen, we love him. Slow news day.
You'll work for all the rich people.
Guys, listen, you got to listen to the rest of this because Kurt, there's a little nugget in here. We haven't even got to this is the expected. We want to get to the lefties who disappointed us.
So
Look what she says. There's a nugget that they're parroting the same line about how much it cost.
And so we have to focus on what it takes to stop them. The first thing you have to look at is when you look at this Russian-Ukrainian war, it's why it matters so much. Because if Ukraine wins, it sends the biggest message to China on not to invade Taiwan and lets them know that we're paying attention. And so we have to focus on that war. Remember, it is only 3.5% of our defense budget.
Come on, Kurt. Get the Kurt. Get that camera to Kurt. Look at that face. Look at Kurt. It's only 3.5% of our defense budget.
It's a message to China and Russia that they have to not only join forces. All these people that didn't even like each other before this,
yes,
all got to hang out.
Yes. Oh God, I got to play that again. Hold on.
The whole thing?
No, just
this. Dude, I almost
just the 3.5%. Come on.
Cut back with my feet in the air.
We're paying attention,
and we're paying attention.
We have to focus on that war. Remember, it is only 3.5% of our defense budget. Percentage of GDP. 11 European countries have spent more than America,
so we should spend more.
That's a pretty small price to pay and a pretty good return on investment to prevent further war.
No, a small price to pay would be the $700 a pop to the people of Lahaina. It's kind of a small price to pay.
Yeah, but did you hear the last line? What she said to prevent further war. Again, this fucking narrative, excuse my French for cursing, I'm glad we're not in the first minute of this segment, but to prevent further war, we got to bomb people. We got to kill people so less people will be killed.
I haven't been on in a while, but Jimmy came on with me, Sitch and Adam, because it took forever to get Sitch to explain to me why risking it, World War III is worth it.
Yeah.
And his wasn't even as good an answer as this. His was like, because Finland might get nervous, then they'll want nuclear weapons.
You talk about that old episode that I watched and stuff?
And
the one that Dave was there too as well?
Yeah, and I was just like, I couldn't. It was such a stupid fucking thing, but it's kind of in the vein of this.
Okay.
That we're preventing. So it says war is peace, freedom is slavery, all the things that a bunch of these people say they're worried about. It literally is that.
Yes. And he had that kind of, I don't know which one of the two dudes, they had that same argument. A lot of people have this argument. And this is what I call empire education. My friend Johnny used to say it's empire education. The way they kind of program you throughout school to think that we're Captain America going fighting Nazis and spreading truth and freedom everywhere.
All that. Oh, dude, being in a doomsday cult that's not even supposed to believe in it, I still had that feeling from my school. But just how do you, after the last 20 years of those disasters that we just had, where they lost all the hits, how do you still fall for that? Because you don't know wrestling's fake by now?
Yes, but it's because it's further away from us. This is why people don't even pay attention to foreign policy. They only pay attention to shit happens in their backyard.
There's a new generation of suckers all the time, and they want in on the seat at the table that isn't even there anymore.
Yeah.
So they all want the dream of like, I'm going to get the validation of like an Oscar or whatever the hell.
So you're saying they're
lifestyle brand. It's like a car commercial. You're a guy that drives in a canyon, and like. They're getting that out of it, and they're turning that identity into a kind of crypto because they're not giving them the actual money. Half of them, they're just getting the identity of.
So you're saying their objective is to rise in the whole media world that's not even there anymore. Kind of like that's why they have that narrative.
People I know to this day in comedy are still like it's wild.
Okay, well listen, so that was the thing that's what we expect, right? We would expect Nikki Haley to have that kind of mentality, to have that type of rhetoric where it's only 3.5% of our GDP. We got to do this to prevent more further war. That's all normal stuff. But I think it's so crazy nowadays that we're sitting here, and this is not going to be a surprise to a lot of people who are in the bubble, right? Who are in the echo chamber, but for the normies out there, and there's a lot of normies that sometimes watch Jimmy's show. I hope you see this shit because these people disappointed me. Now I'm going 3, 2, 1 from the least disappointed to the most disappointed from the top 3. Ro Khanna, right? Let's start with this guy over here.
You thought that guy wasn't going to suck?
We know, but I know there's a lot of normies go, he's a progressive. There was talks of Ro Khanna being the next progressive to run for president.
Let me tell you something about normies. They don't know who the hell Ro Khanna is. They don't know anything about Ukraine. Haven't even thought about it.
Well, let's introduce him to it, Kurt. Okay. You ready, babe? Let's do it.
I don't mean the fans of the show.
What's your thinking about this extra $25 billion?
I will support it. I know some of your viewers will not like the answer, but we always transfer.
Look at that. Did you see that little smirky I got to go back. Look at him smirking at this. He's smiling at death.
I know some of your viewers will not like the answer, but I'm always transparent. I mean, I think we have to support Ukraine while we also seek a just peace. And if we don't support them now, we're giving license for Putin to make more gains into Ukrainian territory. And I clearly believe that Putin was morally wrong and wrong under an international law.
Same CIA bullshit talking point. And I just want to send some love up to heaven to Debbie, the same progressive who was so right about this dude back in the days where we thought this was an avenue. This guy right here is a good guy that we could talk to. There's a chance with him. He's into progressive values. He's going to be anti-war. No, he just shit the bed completely. Yeah. And he was smirking and smiling the whole time. I know some of your progressive anti-war audience won't like this, but no.
He's like the guy from Temple of Doom that seemed all nice, and then he helped like pull the guy's heart out.
Man, 420-1. This is all right. So that was third place, right, for most disappointing. This is second place for most disappointing. If you don't remember who Barbara Lee is, let me remind you, because the AUMF, the authorized use of military force, was voted on by everybody in Congress. It was during a time after the World Trade Center went down, because planes went into the building, so everybody was on edge. They had the whole country prepped and ready to go. I don't know, you remember driving around town, Kurt, when this stuff happened? You see people will hold up American flags, or, and when George Bush says, and the persons who took down these towers, they're going to hear from us soon.
I covered my car in flags.
Yeah. People were hungry for war. Well, they were ready for us to strike back. Well, this is Barbara Lee. 420-1. I was the only person to vote against the invasion of Afghanistan 22 years ago today. I was seen as a radical. I was slandered as unpatriotic. I received death threats, but I stood my ground because I will always do what's right, even if I have to do it alone.
Okay.
Here's our good friend Wyatt Reed. Love you, Wyatt. And now you send billions to goose-stepping Nazis every single month.
The ADL declared they're not Nazis anymore. That's why everyone's on board. The ADL put that out. That's when it became Celebrate Azov, because all these corporate-owned things, all they need is that stamp of ADL. Like the Southern Poverty Law Center used to be for that guy's sex harassment, drove him out of there. The ADL is that. That's why that guy's such a piece of garbage from the ADL, because he signed off. No, they don't bother Jews anyway. And they're not even that right-wing anymore.
And the Southern Poverty Law Center is run by a bunch of goons, CIA people. Barbara Lee is famously anti-war, but not when it comes to supporting Ukraine. And here she is, everybody. Barbara Lee said that the U.S. should continue backing Ukraine against Russia. It's a fight to make sure that the United States is on the right side of history, Kurt.
Well, don't you think, though, just statistically we're due for a win, seeing as how we've lost every single goddamn thing since World War II except Grenada?
I don't know. I heard we won a few things.
No, I mean,
they twisted.
No, well, people won, but not. I don't.
Iraq. What are you talking about?
No, I mean, there were winners for sure, but I just mean it wasn't the general what you thought it was.
All wars are bankers' wars. They're all rich man's wars.
Well,
fucking Smedley Butler. All wars are bankers' wars. Here's the most disappointing, and I'm going to do this one right now because I do have a good clip when we get to our Lahaina clip later on today, and we'll talk about that, where Tulsi's done some amazing work in Hawaii, but this was just so disappointing to me. This is the reason why when people say, oh, you supported Tulsi, but you're not supporting her anymore. Well, obviously a lot's changed on supporting politicians, but this here is so disappointing because this is the part that I thought where she kind of turned her back a little bit on the whole anti-war movement of understanding who funds all these radical groups. When we were just talking about the Uyghurs, it was us that funded the Uyghurs back in the days. When we talk about the Mujahideen back in Afghanistan, it was us who funded the Mujahideen. When it came to the Contras in South America, a radical group to upthrow the government in Nicaragua, we supported the Contras, the Iran Contras.
We give a lot of people money. What are you trying to say?
And weapons.
Look, we do business. What are you trying to say?
And Kurt, we have supported Al-Qaeda. We have supported Al-Nusra, all these other groups, these radical groups. It is us that funds them, so therefore we can start the war.
No, I know. I still send them money. I'm kidding. Wait, but why is she... what is the disappointment in that? What is the disappointment in this? Like,
because I'm going to show you the video.
Okay.
Because she's going to tell us what our biggest priority is right now here in America. Take a listen to this. This is upsetting. So disappointing.
It's like when
today
they say
is the
communist
second
China.
anniversary of the Islamist terrorist attack here in New York City on 9/11, and I'm here along with thousands of other people at the site of Ground Zero, the place where the
Which, by the way,
that's what they call red meat.
The
right?
Islamist thing, there was a big argument about that because there were people saying, well, no, she's technically using it right, and technically you can say that, but the way it comes off, the way it sounds, it's kind of what we were going at Cornell West, right? No, the way people perceive it, right? Like, why would you even go
she's
there?
She's saying that to
she's
people to
down.
show she's one of the cool, like, don't worry, I haven't forgot. Remember when we thought Islam was the thing, and yet strangely that has stopped entirely, and now we just hate fat white guys that can't get laid. Those are the deadly terrorists. That she's like, hey, the good old days. Remember when that was the bad guy?
Yeah.
That it's red meat, right? That's what they call it. You say that it's some stupid nonsense that you say because it pulls well
red meat to that base or whatever. And once again, this is where Tulsi kind of, it really is upsetting because most of the people who did support her, we supported her because of her foreign policy. There are people out there who supported her for civil liberties. There were a couple people out there who switched over because she thought she was best on elections. But the majority of the people, when I met a lot of them in New Hampshire, people who came from New York, the number one they supported her is because they thought she was better on war than Bernie Sanders. They thought her foreign policy was better there. But this is the part that's very disappointing. And don't get me wrong, I understand how a mentality could be there because she was one of the people who joined up after 9/11 to go serve because she wanted to protect this country because she thought that the Islamist terrorists or Al-Qaeda or Al-Nusra or all these ISIS were the greatest threat to America. But when you look into it and you look underneath the hood, you'll see who's funding them. The good old US of A.
Okay, but do you think she doesn't? I mean, honestly, do you think it's that she's
I do
saying
not
that,
accept it that she doesn't know it, Kurt.
No, I know, but what, like, it's like, being mad at RFK for Israel. Like, do you think you can come out and go, and we're going to make Israel shape up and get elected? Because you can't. So you don't think like they're going to say red meat? That's called politics, right? That's what.
But why this? This is not something that she has to
it's
do.
An easy slam dunk. It's like when I saw what's his name.
It's barking to a neoconservative base that really do believe that Al Qaeda is the greatest threat. But let's listen to the rest of it because there's a lot
she's
more.
She's saying
here.
never forget. It's like okay, good.
Yeah, but once again, we know the inside jobs. It was all a bunch of people from Saudi Arabia who's been funded by who? The United States government. They wouldn't even have a country, Kurt, if it wasn't for us propping up that monarchy.
Well, that's not a very good TikTok.
Twin Towers, the World Trade Center once stood. You know who hasn't been here today and who will not be here today is President Joe Biden. So the question is, why not? Perhaps it's because he wants the American people, he wants us all to move past or forget about this attack. Who carried it out? Why they did it? Perhaps it's because he and his administration want to divert our attention away from this and instead focus on new, bigger, and more lucrative wars. They want us to focus on politically advantageous wars, like the war against parents who just want to have a say in our kids' education. Or they want us to focus on the war against patriotic Americans who are standing up to protect our freedoms that are enshrined in our Constitution. The reality is that the Biden administration and their propagandists and mainstream media are intentionally downplaying the fact that the 9/11 attack on our country was carried out by jihadists who are continuing to carry out a crusade to impose Islamic caliphates throughout the world, including the United States.
What?
They want to hide from the American people the fact that these jihadists are the biggest long-term threat to the United States and the world. On this solemn anniversary, we hear a lot of platitudes from different politicians, but what we don't hear them talking about is who carried out these attacks, what their motivation was, and the fact that they're continuing their jihad, continuing to do their very best to get their hands on weapons of mass destruction, to carry out an attack that would make the death and devastation that was caused by their attack on 9/11 right here in this spot seem minuscule in comparison. Now, it wasn't that long ago that I deployed to Africa, serving alongside our special forces to take on these jihadists who I guarantee you have not forgotten their mission to destroy the United States and all freedom-loving people in the world. So while neocons, like those in the Biden administration, want us to forget that we were at war with these jihadists, the reality is the jihadists have not forgotten at all. But we will never forget. The American people are not sheep. I and so many others, so many patriots who were motivated by the attack on 9/11 to put on the uniform, and every American patriot, we will always remember the precious lives that was taken by these jihadists who attacked our country and continue to wage this ideological and kinetic war against us. And on this and every anniversary of their attack on our country on 9/11, we will recommit to defeating such jihadists.
You know what I would say to her if I was there? I would say, but don't you think they're our last hope against intersectional feminism? I can't believe how bad. So that's campaigning against Biden. And again, that's it's kind of a make America great again kind of thing of like, remember when we knew who the bad guy was, the jihadists and Bill Maher?
Yeah. I mean, this over here is so disappointing. The fact that she talked about going to Africa as part of a destabilization program, because that's what it really is.
Well, terror's up 30,000% since you've been there, Tony.
No shit, things are going crazy. But the fact that she is also just talking like this is like something that is separate from the United States apparatus, that is something separate from what the CIA has been doing, funding these types of groups for so long. And if you really are concerned about jihadists or these radical groups, you don't go to look in the Middle East, you go look at Langley and the CIA, because that's where they get their funding from.
Why
because
are you
these groups... Because you're aggravating me right now, Kurt. Get on my side on this.
But I love Langley.
We're going to go to... Let's read some super chats. Misha Lot. I'm going to set up the next thing. We're going to talk about Lahaina next, because since I talked about the bad in Tulsi, we're going to talk about the good in Tulsi, because she does do some amazing work at this time, and I still kind of like her in a lot of ways. This is the shit I hate about her. This right here. And I'm going to call her out when I see this stuff. Plain and simple.
Well, bottom line is you can't expect... I mean, at this point, dude, the scraps of somebody even kind of saying the right thing is so amazing to hear that I'm like, this is just someone doing bad, like campaigning against Biden, and it's like, it comes off so. It's like the old paradigm of politics. You got to do it this way, and do that whole thing because that's to a specific demo. Someone told her to say that. It's that they're like, that's reality of campaigning.
I think she believes it though, because she was in the military and she understood who were they, you know what I'm saying? They were fighting off this jihadist movement and whatnot, but it was funded by the United States.
She better, because she's talking about Lahaina too much, so she better pay
Uncle Rick says that she's setting up a false flag. Like that's what her job is to do right now, is to set up another false flag.
How are you going to get elected if you don't demonstrate, if you don't show class?
This was upsetting. I mean, I really wish what she would have done was gone right and said America's relationship with the Saudi government is ridiculous, and this is where it comes from, and America needs to stop supporting the Saudis. Something like that. But instead saying this is about an ideology that we have to fight, and this is the greatest threat to Americans. That is just sad.
Well, maybe she has some older donors who need to hear this.
Sorry, T. Don't like this one.
Hey, come see us on tour. We're going to be in Tampa, Boca Raton, Orlando, Dallas, Houston, San Diego, Bloomington, Illinois, Indianapolis, and Levittown, New York. Wow, that's a lot of dates. See you there.